Hello and welcome to this episode of Kobo's Space Program. And we are back at episode 12. Yes, that's how far we got already. And as you can see, I also accepted contracts straight away. And today we have exciting news. Not news, but things to do. It's not a lot, unfortunately, but the one mission we have to do is significant. It's the KZ-3 mission with 2 Kobos flying to the moon. And that is our main goal for today. So in preparation for that, we are currently doing a whole lot of contracts to be able to get enough funds. One of these contracts was actually to test the Bobcat engine, which is perfect due to us having a static fire engine test awaiting soon. So I'm accepting even more contracts, as you can see on your screen. And yeah, this is all just to launch the KZ-3 mission. So I did my contracts by transmitting science or scientific data from Earth satellites, moon satellites, whatever you want. And as you can see, I'm currently building a static fire for the Bobcat engine. And we still had this planned either way, but it's really fitting right now because we actually have a contract that requires us to test the Bobcat engine at the launch pad. So this is perfect. I did try building a kind of prototype tank for the Bobcat static fire engine test, but it ended up not being a good design, so I decided to flip it on its belly. This is not only better to watch, but also better to steer and handle in case something goes wrong. So after we've built a prototype tank, which I'm going to change on later on though, I still accepted a few more missions, which included the Bobcat engine mission I was talking about a minute ago. And then we were ready already. I skipped a bit of time, and on the 29th of June 1951 we were ready for testing our Bobcat engine. As you can see, I decided it was not really a good design because it could tip over at any second. So I decided to go back to the vehicle assembly building and redesign it. And as you can see, like, I'll do just exactly that what I said and just flip it on its belly. So during this whole time lapse and quite boring static fire and contract doing and the time lapse of the KZ-3 construction, as you'll see in a minute, I can tell you about the KZ-3 mission in general today. So Bill Kerman and Valentino Kerman are in preparation right now to fly to the moon later in this episode, making this the first encounter of Kobolds near the moon. They will orbit the moon in order to fulfill a contract which will supposed to go on a spacewalk while being in the orbit of the moon. So after that, they will return back to home with the help of aerobraking, and you guys should be familiar with this if you watched the past few episodes. And yeah, then we'll have our first Kobold moon encounter, however you wanna call it. So we were done with the static fire test, so since we still had around a few days time, 2 weeks I think, to launch our KZ-3 mission, I still decided to do a few more contracts, as you'll see on the screen. And of course we still had to build the KZ-3 rocket, which you'll see in just a minute. After we finished building the rocket, we still had around 6 days until liftoff, so we can skip that time by going on one of our Moonoid satellites, which has a current contract we can do on there, and just skip time, I guess. Yeah. And this episode we won't only be launching the KZ3 and do the rest later in the next episode, but we're actually going to perform the whole mission in this episode. Sadly not until landing, because something is interrupting us, as you'll see later on, so stay tuned. And the suspense rises as the days go by, and sooner or later, KZ3 was ready to lift off. And as you could see at the start, we did have one engine failure, so we had to work our way out to orbit with only 4 engines instead of 5, but that was no problem, although this should not happen really. And after we were done doing our translunar injection, I went ahead and accepted more contracts to do during our wait time for the crew to arrive at the moon. So, at already the 6th hour after liftoff, Bill was ready to do a first spacewalk outside the spacecraft and gain an EVA report, space high over Earth, for 12 whole seconds, which kinda paid out good, I have to say, yeah. And as soon as we were in the gravitational influence of the moon, Valentina went out for an EVA. and that was actually before we did our circularization burn. And so we have to still do one last EVA, and this will be performed by Valentina Kerman as well. So here's our current circularization burn, which will slow us down enough to be in the orbit of the moon. And after that, we gained all our science, and Valentina Kerman was ready to go on a spacewalk for one last time during this mission. And with that, we had successfully completed our contract of doing a spacewalk in orbit of the moon. So after this, it was now time for us to head back home after conducting all experiments. So we did our burn, and we were now on our way back home until during our time while back home we actually encountered the notification for the launch of Moonoid 3, which was also going to orbit the moon, but the only difference being that it's a satellite, so it won't carry any cables. But since that is a bit too much for this episode and it's already long enough, it's 15 minutes long, so I'm gonna cut it right here for today and bring back the crew and launch Moonoid 3 in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and it was a huge milestone for the whole series, honestly, because we worked so hard on it and we really deserve this. So I hope I'll see you guys next episode. Bye bye.